I never thought I'd be the kind of person who checks their grandmother's bank statements. But there I was, sitting at my kitchen table at 2 in the morning, staring at numbers that made my stomach drop to my feet. $340,000. Gone. My grandmother Dorothy raised me after my parents died in a car accident when I was 8. She was the one who taught me to ride a bike, helped me with my math homework, sat up with me when I had nightmares. When she started showing signs of dementia 2 years ago, Uncle Rick volunteered to help manage her affairs. He was always at her house, bringing flowers, taking her to doctor appointments, posting these touching photos on Facebook about what an honor it was to care for his mother. I'm 28 now. Work as a financial analyst. Numbers are my thing. And these numbers were screaming at me. I thought I knew my uncle, thought he was one of the good ones, the family member who actually showed up, you know. While everyone else was busy with their lives, Rick was there, every single day. Turns out, I didn't know him at all. I called Rick the next morning, tried to keep my voice steady. "Hey, Uncle Rick, I was helping Gran organize some paperwork and noticed some inconsistencies in her accounts." "Oh, sweetie." His voice was so warm, so concerned. "You know how confused Mom gets these days. The dementia makes her think she's spending money she's not. Don't worry about it." "Rick, there's $340,000 missing." Silence, then a laugh. Soft, understanding. "Lisbeth, honey, I think you're misreading the statements. Mom's memory care is expensive. Her medications, the home health aid, it all adds up. I'm a financial analyst. I know how to read bank statements." His tone shifted, just slightly. "Are you accusing me of something?" My hands were shaking. "I'm just asking questions. After everything I've done for this family?" His voice cracked. Actually cracked. "I've sacrificed my life to take care of Mom while everyone else, including you, barely visits. And this is what I get?" He hung up. 3 days later, my phone exploded. Texts from aunts, uncles, cousins. Rick had called an emergency family meeting. Without me. I showed up anyway. The conference room at Rick's office was packed. My entire extended family sat around this massive table. Rick stood at the head, looking exhausted, devastated. There were actual tears in his eyes. "I didn't want to do this," he said, voice breaking. "But Lisbeth has been making accusations, horrible accusations, and I need to clear my name." He slid a folder across the table. Bank statements, transfer receipts, all with my signature. My blood turned to ice. "These show Lisbeth has been systematically withdrawing money from Mom's accounts for the past 18 months, Rick said quietly. "I discovered it last week. I've been trying to figure out how to handle it as a family matter, but—" "Those are forgeries," I whispered. "Lisbeth, honey." Aunt Marilyn, Rick's wife, reached across the table. "We know you've been stressed. Your job, being single, watching Gran decline. No one's judging you. We just need you to stop." I looked around the table. Every single person was staring at me with pity, with concern, like I was the problem. "Rick is stealing from her," I said. My voice sounded far away. "Those signatures aren't mine. Get them analyzed, please." "I already did," Rick said softly. He pulled out another document. "Forensic handwriting analysis. It's a match, Lisbeth." The room spun. "I think," my cousin Ethan said gently, "we need to limit your access to Gran, just until we figure this out." "I'm banned from seeing my own grandmother?" My throat was closing up. "Because of forged documents?" "It's for her protection," Rick said. And God, he sounded so sincere, so heartbroken. "I love you, Lisbeth. We all do. But Mom's vulnerable right now. We can't take any chances." I stumbled out of that meeting feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. But it got worse. I went to Dorothy's house that night. I had to see her, had to explain. The moment I pulled up, Rick was there, standing in the driveway. "I told you to stay away," he said quietly. "She's my grandmother. And I'm her power of attorney." He pulled out his phone. "Leave now, or I call the police." "Rick, please." He pressed a button, put the phone to his ear. I left. 2 weeks later, I hired a lawyer, started going through Dorothy's financial records more carefully. That's when I found it. Rick had changed her will 2 months ago, while she was deep in dementia fog. The new will left everything to him, cut me out completely. I confronted Dorothy's doctor, asked about her medications, her condition. Dr. Patterson looked uncomfortable. Lisbeth, I've been concerned about Dorothy's sedation levels. Rick insisted we increase her anxiety medication 3 times in the past 6 months. She's been very foggy. You think he's over-medicating her? I think, she said carefully, that Dorothy is more sedated than her condition requires. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. You know that feeling when your body knows you're in danger before your brain catches up? That night, Rick filed a restraining order. The petition claimed I'd been financially abusing and threatening Dorothy, that I'd forged checks, stolen jewelry, made verbal threats against Rick for discovering my crimes. Every single word was a lie. The police showed up at Dorothy's house while I was there trying to talk to her through the window. She was sitting in her chair, staring at nothing, so drugged up she didn't even recognize me. Ma'am, you need to leave, the officer said. Not unkind, but firm. That's my grandmother. She raised me. Please, there's a restraining order. If you don't leave now, I'll have to arrest you. I watched through my rearview mirror as Rick came out onto the porch, put his arm around Dorothy, waved sadly at the police car. The whole family sided with him. My mother, Dorothy's own daughter, called me that night. Lisbeth, what's gotten into you? Rick's been nothing but good to this family. Why are you doing this? Mom, he's stealing. Stop. Just stop. Her voice was cold. I don't know if this is jealousy or stress or what, but you need to get help. Professional help. She hung up. I sat in my apartment, surrounded by bank statements and legal documents and proof that no one would believe. Rick had rewritten the entire narrative. Made himself the hero, made me the villain, and everyone bought it. How do you prove innocence when the thief has rewritten every record in his favor? The restraining order hearing was a nightmare. Rick showed up in a suit, looking exhausted and grief-stricken, testified about how much he loved his mother, how he'd dedicated his life to her care, how discovering my betrayal had broken his heart. He cried on the witness stand. Actually cried. The judge granted a temporary restraining order. 500 feet. I couldn't go near Dorothy's house, her doctor's office, anywhere Rick claimed she might be. I was forbidden from seeing the woman who raised me. I walked out of that courtroom and did something I swore I'd never do. I hired a forensic accountant. Sarah Chen was expensive, but she was good. Within a week, she'd found offshore transfers, shell companies registered in Delaware and the Cayman Islands, a pattern of systematic theft dating back 3 years. This wasn't impulsive, Sarah said, spreading documents across her desk. This was planned. Look at the timing. Small transfers at first, testing to see if anyone noticed, then larger amounts, always just under the reporting threshold. Can we prove it's him? We can prove the money went somewhere it shouldn't have. Getting it connected directly to Rick will take time. Time I didn't have, because while I was gathering evidence, Rick was busy too. He increased Dorothy's medication again. I found out from a home health aide who felt guilty enough to text me. Dorothy was barely coherent now, sleeping 16 hours a day. Then Rick staged an incident. Dorothy frantically called him one night, sobbing that I'd threatened her, that I'd tried to get into her house, that she was terrified. The call came from Rick's phone. Call logs proved it. But by the time I could show anyone, Rick had accidentally erased the records. He created a fake email trail, messages from an account with my name, not my actual email, just close enough, requesting money transfers from Dorothy, begging her for loans, getting increasingly aggressive. I never sent those emails, but they existed, and they looked damning. Rick's Facebook became this shrine to caregiving. Photos of him reading to Dorothy, helping her in the garden, heartfelt posts about the burden and blessing of caring for a parent with dementia. The comments section was full of family members praising him, calling him a saint. And then he called another family meeting. I wasn't invited, but my mother told me about it afterward. Rick sat at the head of the table again, looked at everyone with these exhausted, wounded eyes. "I need to be honest with you all," he said. "This has been the hardest year of my life. Caring for Mom, discovering the theft, being accused of crimes I didn't commit." His voice broke. "I've given everything to this family. Everything. And now I'm being torn apart for it." Aunt Marilyn, his wife, started crying. "Rick's lost 20 pounds. He's not sleeping. The stress of managing Mom's care and dealing with these accusations is killing him." My cousin Ethan stood up. "We all know Uncle Rick. He'd never steal from Gran. This is insane." Rick pulled out doctored bank statements, highlighted sections showing his small salary for managing Dorothy's affairs, showed receipts for her care expenses. Everything looked legitimate. "I'm not asking you to take sides," he said quietly. "I'm just asking you to look at the facts. Look at who's been there every single day. And look at who's trying to destroy this family with lies." The vote was unanimous. I was the problem. My mother called me afterward. "Rick showed us proof, Lisbeth. Actual proof. I think you need to see someone, a therapist, because these accusations, this paranoia, it's not healthy. Mom, I hired a forensic accountant to cover your own theft." Her voice rose. "Don't you see what you're doing? You're trying to frame an innocent man, your own uncle. Someone who's sacrificed everything for this family. The accountant found offshore accounts that you probably set up. Lisbeth, please, get help before you completely destroy yourself." She hung up. I sat there, phone in my hand, feeling like I was losing my mind. Maybe I was crazy. Maybe I'd misread everything. No. I knew what I'd seen. The numbers didn't lie. But Rick was better at this than I'd realized. He wasn't just stealing money. He was stealing reality itself, rewriting history so thoroughly that even my own mother questioned my sanity. I contacted the FBI Financial Crimes Division, sent them everything Sarah had found. The agent who called me back sounded interested. "This is substantial. We'll open an investigation." Hope. For the first time in months, I felt hope. It lasted 3 days. Rick got the home health aide fired, the one who'd told me about the medication increases. She'd violated patient confidentiality, he claimed, reported her to the state licensing board, destroyed her career. The message was clear. Help Lisbeth, and Rick will ruin you. The FBI case sat in a queue. Weeks passed. No movement. Meanwhile, Rick transferred another $50,000. I watched it happen in real time through the banking portal I still had access to. Called the FBI agent. Left voicemails. Nothing. Then Sarah found something else. "Lisbeth, Marilyn's been helping him. She showed me forged power of attorney documents, signature comparisons. She's been signing your grandmother's name for months. And look at these business receipts. Ethan's company, the one he'd started last year with Rick's investment. All fake. Shell Corporation designed to hide money transfers. Aunt Marilyn and cousin Ethan weren't just enabling Rick. They were co-conspirators. The whole family was in on it. I sat in Sarah's office, staring at the evidence, and felt something break inside me. Not my spirit, not my determination. My last shred of hope that this was salvageable. That family meant something. "There's more," Sarah said quietly. "Rick researched this. Look." She showed me browser history she'd pulled from Dorothy's old computer, searches dating back 4 years. Early dementia signs. Financial power of attorney elderly parent. How to become guardian of dementia patient. Rick had been planning this before Dorothy even got sick. He'd seen her aging, seen the inheritance, and decided to take it. Everything. The flowers, the daily visits, the touching Facebook posts. It was all performance, research, preparation. He'd been hunting my grandmother. Then Rick filed for full guardianship. The petition landed on my lawyer's desk like a bomb. Legal guardianship would give Rick complete control. Medical decisions, financial decisions, where Dorothy lived, who could visit her. If he won, I'd never see her again. The hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks away. Can you stop a thief who's convinced everyone he's the hero? I had 14 days to stop Rick from stealing everything. My lawyer was pessimistic. He has documented caregiving history, family support, financial records that look clean on the surface. You have allegations. I have forensic evidence that a judge might not admit, and even if they do, Rick's team will argue you manufactured it to cover your own theft. She sighed. I'm sorry, Lisbeth. I'll fight as hard as I can, but you need to prepare for the possibility that we lose. I couldn't lose. That night, I made a decision. A crazy, dangerous, possibly stupid decision. I was going to play Rick's game, but I was going to play it better. The next morning, I posted on Facebook. I owe my family an apology. The stress of watching Gran decline has made me paranoid and accusatory. Uncle Rick has been nothing but devoted to her care, and I've repaid his kindness with suspicion. I'm sorry, I'm getting help. I hope someday you can all forgive me. The responses flooded in. Relief. Forgiveness. We love you, Lisbeth. So proud of you for recognizing this. Healing starts now. Rick called me that afternoon. Lisbeth. His voice was warm, concerned. I saw your post. I want you to know I forgive you. I understand you're struggling. Thank you, Uncle Rick. I made my voice small, broken. I've been so confused. I think I need to step back from Gran's care, let you handle things. That's very mature of you. I could hear the smile in his voice. The victory. Family dinner this Sunday? I think it would be good for everyone to see you, see that you're okay. I'd like that. I showed up to that dinner medicated and quiet, took a Xanax beforehand so I'd seem genuinely sedated, apologized to everyone, let them hug me, tell me they were proud. Rick squeezed my shoulder. This is what family is about. Forgiveness. I looked him in the eye and smiled. You're right. Family is everything. He had no idea I was recording every word. The wire was FBI grade. Tiny microphone clipped inside my bra, my phone running a backup audio app in my purse. I went to every family event for the next week, smiled, played broken, let Rick gloat. At the next family dinner, Rick stood up, made a toast. I want to thank everyone for supporting me through this difficult time, especially for helping Lisbeth see the truth. I know she's struggled with jealousy, with her own mental health challenges, but that's what family does. We lift each other up. Uncle Rick's been so patient, Ethan said, refilling wine glasses. I would have cut ties months ago. Family doesn't cut ties, Rick said magnanimously. He looked at me. Right, Lisbeth? Right. I raised my glass, let my hand shake just slightly. I'm sorry I doubted you. The wire caught every word. Marilyn leaned over, touched my arm. We were so worried about you, honey. But Rick convinced us to be patient. He said you'd come around. He helped me see I was paranoid, I said softly, making connections that weren't there. Rick laughed, warm, generous. Sometimes our minds play tricks on us, especially under stress. The important thing is you're getting help now. More recordings, more lies, all on tape. But then Sarah called. Lisbeth, we have a problem. Rick knows about me. He's threatening to sue my firm for harassment. My boss is pressuring me to drop the investigation. My stomach dropped. Can he do that? He's doing it. I'm sorry. I have to step back. The FBI case was still sitting in queue. Sarah was out. The guardianship hearing was in 5 days. Rick was accelerating the endgame. I found out through my mother. Rick was moving Dorothy to a specialized memory care facility in Florida, away from Chicago. Away from everyone. It's for the best, Mom said. She needs round-the-clock care now, and Rick found an amazing place. Very expensive, but he's using Mom's money to give her the best. When? Next month, right after the guardianship hearing. Once Dorothy was in Florida, I'd never reach her. Rick would have complete control. And all that money, whatever was left, would disappear into offshore accounts before anyone could stop him. I called the FBI agent again, left another voicemail. Desperate now. She called back 3 hours later. Ms. Peterson, I have good news. The federal prosecutor reviewed your case. The evidence is strong. We're moving forward. I nearly cried. What does that mean? It means we're pursuing charges. Wire fraud, elder abuse, identity theft. We'll need your cooperation, but we believe we can make this stick. When? We're working on a warrant now. Should have it within the week. 1 week. The guardianship hearing was in 4 days. Can you arrest him before the hearing? We're trying, but these things take time. The warrant has to be airtight. I hung up and stared at my apartment walls. So close, but possibly not close enough. Then everything fell apart again. Rick's lawyer filed an emergency motion, claimed the FBI investigation was retaliatory prosecution based on my documented false accusations, requested an immediate hearing to dismiss the case. The hearing was scheduled for the day before Thanksgiving. If the judge dismissed the FBI investigation, it was over. Rick would win guardianship. Move Dorothy to Florida. Disappear with whatever money was left. I sat in the prosecutor's office watching her read Rick's motion. This is aggressive, she said quietly, but not unexpected. They're trying to shut us down before we can act. Can they? Possibly. The judge could rule that there's insufficient evidence, that this is a civil matter, not criminal. She looked at me, but I don't think that's going to happen. Why not? She smiled, pulled out a folder. Because your forensic accountant found something interesting before she had to step back. Sarah's final report. The evidence she'd compiled in those last days before Rick's lawyers scared her off. Rick had researched this scheme for 2 years, before Dorothy's diagnosis. Browser history showing searches for early dementia signs and financial power of attorney. Downloaded articles about exploiting elderly relatives. Visited websites about hiding assets offshore. He'd deliberately waited for Dorothy to become vulnerable, then pounced. This shows premeditation, the prosecutor said. This isn't a family dispute over money. This is calculated elder abuse. Is it enough? For a warrant? Yes. For a conviction? She paused. We'll see. That night, I got a text from Ethan. A screenshot, group chat between Rick, Marilyn, and Ethan. Rick. FBI thinks they're so smart. 1 more transfer and we're set. Offshore accounts ready. Marilyn. When? Rick. After guardianship hearing, then Mom goes to Florida. Everything's in place. Ethan. What about the investigation? Rick. Lawyer's killing it tomorrow. Judge will dismiss. Lisbeth's done. Ethan had sent me the screenshot with 1 word. Sorry. I stared at it, read it again. The casual cruelty, the confidence, the complete lack of remorse. These people had sat across from me at family dinners, hugged me, told me they loved me, and they'd been planning to rob my grandmother blind the entire time. I forwarded the screenshot to the prosecutor. She called me within minutes. This is exactly what we needed. Can you verify this is Ethan's phone? Yes, he sent it to me directly. Why? I don't know. Guilt, maybe. Or he's scared. Either way, this gives us everything. Account numbers. Admission of the scheme. Proof they knew about the investigation and were trying to circumvent it. I could hear her typing. We're not waiting for the dismissal hearing. We're bypassing the local judge, going straight to federal court for the warrant. When? Thanksgiving. We'll execute the warrant during their family dinner. My brain stuttered. What? You said they're all getting together for Thanksgiving, correct? Rick, Marilyn, Ethan? All 3 co-conspirators in one place? Yes, but then that's when we move. We'll arrest them together, get their immediate reactions on record, prevent them from coordinating their stories. She paused. I need to know, are you willing to wear a wire? Be in that room when we execute the arrest? My hands were shaking. You want me to have Thanksgiving dinner with the people who've been stealing from my grandmother while wearing a wire? I want you to help us build an airtight case. The recordings you've been making are good, but having audio of them discussing the scheme right before arrest, that's gold. They'll be comfortable, confident. They won't be careful. I thought about Dorothy, drugged up, alone, terrified of the man who was supposed to protect her. I'll do it. The prosecutor explained the plan. I'd show up to Thanksgiving dinner, wear the wire, act normal, ask innocent questions about Dorothy's finances, let Rick lie on tape. FBI agents would be positioned around the block, waiting for the signal. What if Rick suspects something? He won't. You've been playing the broken, apologetic niece perfectly. He thinks he's won. That's when people get sloppy. She smiled. Trust me, by the time dessert is served, Rick will be in handcuffs. The dismissal hearing was the next day. Rick's lawyer argued that the investigation was politically motivated, that I'd manipulated federal agents with false accusations. The judge listened, read the evidence. Motion denied. The FBI investigation will proceed. Rick's face went white. His lawyer immediately requested an appeal. Denied. This court finds sufficient evidence of potential criminal activity to warrant federal investigation. Next case. Rick stood up, started to say something, then saw the federal prosecutor watching from the gallery. Sat back down. Outside the courthouse, he walked past me, leaned close. This isn't over, he whispered. No, I agreed. It's not. Thanksgiving morning. I sat in the federal prosecutor's car while a technician fitted me with a wire. It's sensitive, she explained. We'll pick up everything within 15 feet, try to stay close to the subjects, ask questions, let them talk. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. What if I mess this up? The prosecutor squeezed my shoulder. You won't. You've been handling Rick for weeks now. Just do what you've been doing. Be the apologetic niece. Let him gloat. FBI agents were positioned around the block. Unmarked cars, plain clothes, waiting. I drove to Rick's house at noon. The driveway was packed. My mother's car, Ethan's truck, other relatives I hadn't seen in months. Rick answered the door with a huge smile. Lisbeth, so glad you could make it. Come in, come in. The house smelled like turkey and stuffing. Family members were scattered throughout the living room and kitchen. Everyone greeted me warmly. No one had any idea what was coming. Dorothy was in the corner, in a wheelchair now. So sedated, her head was lolling forward. I walked over, knelt beside her. Hi, Gran. She looked at me. Her eyes were glazed, empty. She didn't recognize me. Rick appeared beside me, put his hand on my shoulder. She's having a rough day. The medication makes her sleepy. What medication? Just her anxiety meds. Keeps her calm. He smiled. Don't worry, I'm taking good care of her. The wire caught every word. Dinner started at 1. Rick sat at the head of the table, carved the turkey, led everyone in prayer. Lord, thank you for this family, for the love that binds us together, for the strength to overcome attacks and accusations. Thank you for healing, for forgiveness, for truth prevailing. Everyone said, Amen. I felt sick. Rick raised his wine glass. To family, to loyalty, to sticking together even when others try to tear us apart. Glasses clinked. Everyone drank. I took a breath, started asking questions. Uncle Rick, how's Gran's financial situation looking? The care facility in Florida must be expensive. It is, but she's worth it. I've been managing her accounts carefully, making sure every dollar is used for her care. How much is left in her accounts? Marilyn laughed. Lisbeth, honey, we're having dinner. Let's not talk business. I'm just curious. Since I was confused before, I want to understand how everything works. Rick leaned back, confident. Your grandmother had about $400,000 in savings when I took over her care. Between the house expenses, medical bills, and setting aside funds for the Florida facility, we're down to about $60,000 now. Lie. Sarah's forensic analysis showed at least $200,000 was still missing. That's a lot of money in 2 years, I said carefully. Dementia care is expensive. Rick's tone was patient, educational. The medication alone is thousands per month. The aides, the equipment, it adds up fast. Another lie. Dorothy's medications cost maybe $200 monthly. Ethan jumped in. Plus, Uncle Rick's been using his own money too, covering gaps when Gran's accounts run low. Really? I looked at Rick. That's generous. Family takes care of family. He smiled, raised his glass again. No matter the cost. The wire was recording everything. Dinner continued. Normal conversation. Football plans. Who was bringing what to Christmas? Then Rick's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, smiled. Marilyn, the transfer went through. Florida facility confirmed receipt. She nodded. Good, that's the last big one? Should be. Once guardianship is finalized, we can… He stopped, looked at me. Sorry, boring adult stuff. What transfer? I asked. Just setting up Gran's care account at the new facility, making sure everything's in place for her move. I pulled out my phone, checked Dorothy's account through the banking app. $50,000, transferred 20 minutes ago to an LLC I didn't recognize. That's a lot for a deposit, I said. Rick's smile tightened. Just slightly. It's a full year prepaid. Ensures she has a spot. Can I see the facility's information? I'd like to look it up. Of course. I'll send you the details later. He wouldn't, because the facility didn't exist. The LLC was another shell company. Marilyn stood up, started clearing plates. Who wants pie? The moment was slipping. I needed something stronger, something that would force Rick to reveal himself. Uncle Rick, I've been thinking. About the forensic accountant I hired. I know that was crazy of me, paranoid, but she did find some interesting patterns. His face went still. Patterns? Offshore transfers, shell companies. Stuff that looked, I don't know, weird. I laughed, self-deprecating. But I'm sure there's an explanation, right? Rick's jaw tightened. Lisbeth, we've been over this. There are no offshore accounts. That accountant was either incompetent or lying to justify her fees. So those companies she found, the ones in Delaware and the Cayman Islands, those aren't real? The table went quiet. Everyone was staring. Rick set down his fork. What are you doing? I'm just asking questions, trying to understand. After everything we've been through, after you apologized, you're doing this again? His voice rose. At Thanksgiving dinner? I'm not accusing anyone, Yes, you are. He stood up. You're paranoid, Lisbeth, vindictive. We've all tried to help you, but you can't let it go. Rick, no. He pointed at me, shaking. I have sacrificed everything for this family, cared for Mom while everyone else lived their lives, and you've repaid me by trying to destroy my reputation, by calling me a thief, a liar. Ethan stood up. Uncle Rick's right. This is crazy. My mother was crying. Lisbeth, please, not today. I looked at Rick, at his red face, his trembling hands, the mask slipping. I'm wearing a wire, I said quietly. The room went silent. Rick's face changed. The anger drained away, replaced by something cold, calculating. What? I stood up, pulled the microphone out from under my shirt, showed it to him. Federal wire. Everything you've said today has been recorded. Every lie about Gran's accounts, every fake expense, the transfer you just made to that shell company. I looked around the table. All of it. Marilyn's face went white. Ethan stumbled backward. Rick laughed. It sounded wrong, desperate. This is entrapment. You can't. This isn't legal. The front door opened. 8 FBI agents walked in. Body armor, weapons drawn. The special agent in charge stepped forward, held up a badge. Richard Peterson, you're under arrest for wire fraud, elder abuse, and identity theft. Marilyn Peterson, Ethan Peterson, you're under arrest as accomplices. Rick backed away, grabbed at Dorothy's wheelchair. You can't do this! I was protecting her! Tell them, Mom! Tell them I saved you! Dorothy looked up at him. For just a moment, the medication fog cleared. She looked at his face, at the agents, at me. She whispered, You stole from me. Rick's face crumpled. No, Mom. I love you. I did everything for you. An agent pulled him away, spun him around. Handcuffs clicked. Marilyn was screaming, not at the agents, at Ethan. This is your fault. You sent her that text. You stupid. Ethan tried to run, made it to the hallway before an agent tackled him. Brought him down hard on the tile floor. 3 sets of handcuffs. 3 arrests. My entire family watching in shock. Rick was still talking, yelling about lawyers. about how this was a mistake, about how he'd only been trying to help. The prosecutor appeared in the doorway, looked at me, nodded. They dragged Rick past the dining room table, past the half-eaten turkey, past Dorothy, who was staring at her hands like she didn't understand what was happening. Neighbors were gathering on the porch, phones out, recording, watching as federal agents loaded my uncle, his wife, and his son into separate cars. My mother stood in the kitchen, crying. "How could you do this? On Thanksgiving?" I looked at her, at the woman who'd believed Rick over her own daughter. How could he steal from the woman who raised him? I walked out. Stood in the driveway, watched the cars pull away. For the first time in 8 months, I could breathe. The trial took 6 months. Rick was charged with 16 counts of wire fraud, elder abuse, identity theft, and forgery. $340,000 in documented theft. Marilyn was charged as an accomplice. She'd forged Dorothy's signatures, helped create fake business receipts, knew about the offshore accounts. Ethan took a plea deal, testified against his parents in exchange for reduced charges, admitted he'd helped set up shell companies, laundered money through his fake business. The evidence was overwhelming. Bank records, forensic analysis, recorded phone calls, the wire recordings from Thanksgiving dinner. Rick's defense was that he'd been managing Dorothy's care, that the money went to legitimate expenses, that I was a vindictive niece trying to steal her inheritance. The jury didn't buy it. Guilty, on all counts. Rick got 12 years in federal prison. Marilyn got 8. Ethan got 3 years probation and community service for cooperating. All their assets were seized, sold at auction. The money went to repay Dorothy. I became her legal guardian. The court approved it unanimously. The money that was recovered, about $280,000 after legal fees and restitution, went into a trust for Dorothy's care. I moved her to a real memory care facility, not in Florida, here in Chicago, 20 minutes from my apartment. She has good days and bad days. On the good days, she remembers me, calls me by name, asks about my job, tells me stories about my parents. On the bad days, she doesn't know where she is. Gets scared. Asks for Rick. I hold her hand and tell her she's safe, that I'm taking care of her now. Sometimes she understands. Sometimes she doesn't. 2 years later, she's still alive, still in the same facility. The money's covering everything, her room, her medication, her care team. I visit every week, bring flowers, read to her, sit with her even when she doesn't recognize me, because that's what family actually means, not performance, not Facebook posts about sacrifice, real presence, real care, real love. Rick writes me letters from prison sometimes, long, rambling things about how he was misunderstood, how he was actually the victim, how I destroyed the family. I don't respond. The family fell apart after the trial. My mother doesn't speak to me, says I should have handled it privately. Other relatives sided with Rick, called me a traitor. A few reached out to apologize, said they should have believed me, that they were sorry. I accepted their apologies. But I don't trust them the way I used to. The ones who matter, the ones who stood by me when everyone else called me crazy. Those are the people I keep close now. Blood doesn't make you family. Loyalty does. Trust does. And the people who scream loudest about family values, usually the ones violating them most. Rick's up for parole in 8 years. The prosecutor says he'll likely serve the full sentence given the severity of the crime. I'll be at every parole hearing, making sure the board knows exactly what he did, what he stole, who he hurt. Dorothy won't be alive to testify. Her dementia's getting worse. Doctors say she has maybe 2 more years, but I'll speak for her. I'll make sure Rick's final years in prison are a reminder that justice catches up, even to people who carve the Thanksgiving turkey, even to people everyone trusts. I learned something through all of this, something important. When something feels wrong, when the numbers don't add up, when the story doesn't make sense, when your gut is screaming at you, trust it. Trust it even when everyone else calls you crazy, especially when everyone calls you crazy. Because the people who gaslight you, the ones who tell you you're paranoid, vindictive, mentally unstable, They're usually the ones with something to hide. And family? Real family doesn't demand blind loyalty, doesn't weaponize love to cover crimes, doesn't sacrifice truth for comfortable lies. Real family stands up when something's wrong, even when it costs them everything. Especially when it costs them everything. I lost most of my extended family standing up for Dorothy. Lost relationships I thought would last my whole life. But I kept my integrity, my grandmother's safety, the truth. And at the end of the day, that's the only family that matters. Ever notice how the loudest voices about family values are often the ones violating them most? Trust your gut when something feels wrong, especially when everyone tells you you're crazy. That instinct might save someone's life.